Good afternoon, Year 10. So we're going to do the second method of solving simultaneous equations. So last lesson we learned about the elimination method, and today we're going to be learning about the substitution method. So sometimes there will be both methods that could be able to be worked, but sometimes there'll only be one method. So you do need to know both of them. Okay, the substitution method, we have actually used this a lot before, and it'll look a bit familiar when we start to do it. So the substitution method is used when x or y, now it could be any letter, okay, I'm just using x and y at the moment just so I can talk about two different letters. So when x or y is on its own, that means there's no coefficient, no number in front of the letter in either equation. Okay, so we're going to make that letter the subject and then substitute into the other equation. So it's really important that you do substitute into the other equation. So in the elimination method, you could substitute into either one, but in this one, you have to go into the other one. Otherwise, you end up with a statement that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so this is just a note, but you probably don't need to read this till later on when things get a bit harder. But if you only have to find one value for one letter, so most of the time they'll want both of them, they'll want the x value and the y value. But if they only ask for one, it will be easier and quicker if you make the other letter, not the one you're trying to find, the subject of the equation. But when we get to harder ones, you'll see what that means. Alright, so our examples. The first one, we're solving these two equations simultaneously. So we could have used the elimination method here because we have two terms that have got y in them, have got the same number in front of their letter. So we could have looked at that and put a box around that and said, how do we eliminate these y's? We add the equations together and gone through and added them and continued on with the elimination method. But at the moment we're trying to practice the substitution method, so we're going to use that. So here we've got an x that's on its own. In other words, there's no number in front of it. This has got a 2 in front of it, this has got a 7 in front of it, this has got a 7 in front of it. We're not looking at the signs, just the fact there's no other number there. So we're going to get that x and make that the subject of that equation. So that's in equation 2, so we're going to say in equation 2, x equals, and all we need to do is move this minus 7y to the other side to make it plus 7y. So we've now got x equals 16 plus 7y. I'm going to call that the asterisk equation. It's really important to go back to that later because it just makes the whole working easier at the end. Okay, so we're going to sub x equals 16 plus 7y into, now 7 had to go to the other equation. So if this came out of number 2, we have to sub into number 1. So we're going to write down equation 1, and where you see x, you're going to write 16 plus 7y. So here's our x. We're going to write 16 plus 7y. It does have more than one term, so put brackets there. Okay? So more than one term. Put in brackets. Otherwise, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. So then we're just going to expand our bracket. 2 times 16 is 32. 2 times positive 7y is positive 14y. And just continue with the rest of it. Okay, so we're going to collect our like terms here. And we get 32 plus 21y equals 5. Alright, so we're just going to continue through and solve this equation to get y by itself. You know what to do to go through these steps. Don't forget to put this in your calculator and press equals because it does simplify. So our answer for y is y equals minus 9 over 7. Alright, we're going to take that answer, and I told you to mark this as an asterisk for a reason. This answer could go back into number 1, number 2, or the asterisk equation. But if you put it back into that one, you will get your answer straight away without trying to solve an equation. So we're going to sub that back into the asterisk equation. So I'm copying this equation down, and where the y is, we're going to put in our minus 9 over 7. And if you go to your calculator and put all of that in, you get your answer straight away. It's much quicker than trying to go back into 1 or 2. So always go back to the asterisk equation. Alright, so that gives us x equals 7. We had our y value up there, so we can conclude it with our two answers. X equals 7, y equals minus 9 over 7. Okay, equation 2. So we're solving these two equations simultaneously. Again, we could have used the elimination method. These have got 2x in front of them. So we could have said, well, how do we eliminate those x's? We subtract those equations and subtract right through and still got our final answer the same as if we're doing it in this way with our substitution method. So, if we look at it, we do have a y that's got nothing in front of it. Don't worry about the sign, there's no number in front of it. So circle that. We're going to get that to be the subject of that equation. So that's in equation 2. So in number 2, we're going to have y equals, and we're going to move this across to the other side. So instead of the plus 2x, it'll be minus 2x over there. So we have y equals 5 minus 2x. Don't forget to label it with the asterisk at the end there. Okay, so we're going to sub y equals 5 minus 2x into number 1, because it has to go into the other one. If this came out of 2, we have to go into 1. So copy down equation 1, and where y is, we're going to put 5 minus 2x, but because it's more than one term, it must be in a bracket. Okay, so we're going to continue through expanding our brackets in the next line. 2x is here, 5 5s are 25, 5 times minus 2x is minus 10x. Continue on with simplifying your terms, collecting like terms, and continue to solve your equation. Make sure you put this in your calculator and it'll come out as x equals 9 over 4 with your fraction key. Alright, and down the bottom here, I'm going to take our answer for x equals 9 over 4 and make sure you put it into the asterisk equation up here. So if we put 9 over 4 for x into the equation for the asterisk equation, you'll get your final answer straight off your calculator, y equals a half. So we'll put our two answers together, x equals 9 over 4 and y equals a half. So I'll come back in a minute on the next video and you can see some more examples.